How would you like to have all of the specs from this camera, the Blackmagic 𝗖𝗚𝗨𝗙 LF, inside of the body of the Blackmagic PYXIS? Well, for most of us, we thought this was a pipe dream that we'd see in a certain number of years. As we approach the near exact 1-year anniversary of these two cameras' announcements, it looks like that wish may be granted. For those of you who don't know, NAB is coming up in a couple of days in Las Vegas. It stands for like the National Audio Video Broadcast Show, something like that. It's essentially where everyone in the broadcast and filmmaking industry come out with their new products, Blackmagic of which is usually one of the largest sponsors of the entire event. And because they are one of the largest sponsors, the Las Vegas Convention Center is usually riddled with posters of their newest, latest, and greatest things. The thing is these posters are ginormous, and although Blackmagic is a company that usually keeps things very under wraps, and actually in just a little over 24 hours, they will host their live event where they will be announcing all their new products. But thanks to these giant wall building posters, we have a leak for what is probably going to be one of the largest camera announcements of the year. So late last night when I was asleep, a follower and fellow filmmaker and recent purchaser of the 𝗬𝗚𝗨𝗙𝗙 as well sent me this picture. But I haven't confirmed if he took this or if it's a source from somewhere else, but regardless, it's definitely a real image, and it basically gives us everything we need to know in a generalized manner of what we are going to see. This is not some forum leak that is just hinting at something where we can put 2 and 2 together. No, this literally says, by using some basic common sense with the English language of what's hidden behind the pillars here, the new Blackmagic PYXIS 12K features 𝗬𝗚𝗨𝗙𝗙's large format sensor with 16 stops of dynamic range, recording into Blackmagic RAW. What? So that means this beautiful little boxed cinema camera right here is going to have the same exact large format full frame sensor 12K, as well as the 16 stops of dynamic range that go along with it inside of its body. Now, I'll be honest, the past couple of weeks I've been hearing a small little rumor that we were going to see a 8K version of the PYXIS, which to me made a lot more sense for a number of reasons. One, again, these cameras just came out. It is pretty unlike Blackmagic to have multi-year huge camera releases. A lot of times it's at least 2 or 3 years, which has given us kind of Blackmagic owners a little bit of like time to, you know, buy a camera, make a camera purchase, enjoy it, and not have that FOMO of a instantly being replaced by something else. But the other factor is I just didn't think it was really possible to fit the 12K sensor and all of the components and the processing power and the battery and everything that it takes to run this sensor and get the image quality that you do, to condense it down to something that lives in the size of this. Now, of course, we don't know if we're going to see a limit in frame rates. For example, this can do some ridiculous numbers. Thanks to the B-mount batteries that you put on the back of it, you can do like 8K 240 frames a second or something like that. So perhaps we'll see a little bit more limited functionality in terms of frame rates on the PYXIS 12K. But as someone who has been shooting on the 𝗬𝗚𝗨𝗙𝗙 12K for about the past week, I just got back from Italy where I took it, and oh my gosh, the footage that this sensor produces is of my favorite cameras that I've ever seen in my entire life. 16 stops of dynamic range is just nuts. But of course, when we look at the main reasons why I fell in love with this camera, besides the stops of dynamic range, why else? This camera has internal NDs, and that is probably the singular biggest piece of feedback that everyone has given Blackmagic for the PYXIS. Because of the lens mounts and everything, it's very hard to find a really smart, efficient ND solution. You basically have to treat it like any other cinema camera, where if I'm going in a place that has remote sunlight, I have to bring a matte box and an ND, or you can screw on something, get a variable ND. But honestly, in 2025, that's just a bit annoying. I know how first world problems that is, but having had the Pocket 6K Pro for so many years and now jumping to the 𝗬𝗚𝗨𝗙 12K, internal NDs is just everything to me. My guess is if they are going to release such a upgrade to a body line so soon after its initial release, they probably are going to have the largest piece of feedback that we all gave this. If the PYXIS 12K doesn't have internal NDs, what is even happening? But again, as I've been hearing these rumors the past couple weeks that a newer PYXIS was going to come out with, again, I heard like an 8K sensor, but in those rumors, some people in the Blackmagic circle have said that it will have internal NDs. So I'm pretty confident that it's going to. And when I heard this news, I was like, this is going to make people so excited and so very much pissed off at the same time. Very excited because of course, who doesn't want to see, again, all the camera specs, the internal NDs, the sensor dynamic range, all that stuff of this inside of this. But at the same time, how many thousands, I'm sure tens of thousands of people have bought the PYXIS in the past year, and not just bought, but pre-ordered and then didn't get the actual camera until like fall time. So they waited like 6 months. So we've all really only had our hands on these cameras 6 months at most, I think. So what do I think is Blackmagic's, not necessarily reasoning, but how they're going to be able to kind of justify the release is the fact that it's not necessarily going to be a replacement to this. From day one, when they announced this camera, I remember being like, okay, we have the Blackmagic PYXIS. This means there's room for a Blackmagic PYXIS Pro. Now, based off that one banner, it doesn't look like that's going to be the naming for it. It looks like it's just going to be the PYXIS 12K LF, which kind of makes sense because it seems like they're trying to work on their naming and not having such crazy long titles. Pricing is going to be so interesting because you have the PYXIS at $29.95. Then you have the 𝗬𝗧𝗨𝗙𝗙 12K, which was $15,000, so you had a lot of room in the middle there. But then they just came out the body only, which I ended up going with, which is $7,069.95. So where does a PYXIS 12K LF live? Again, if you're going body only, my guess is going to be something like $4,500 plus or minus $500. That really is like the only ballpark that seems to make sense. Now, I'm curious if anyone else feels the same way that I do and is potentially in the position that I am in the comments. Let me know, because this is truly like blowing my mind this morning. Is let's say this comes out right and it's around the price point I just mentioned, and it truly has the same sensor, same dynamic range, has internal NDs. Cool. So you have the big specs of this camera. I'm still within the return period of my 𝗬𝗧𝗨𝗙𝗙 12K, but I don't know if I would go to the PYXIS 12K. And it's really hard because I love shooting handheld. I love being able to be very versatile with my rigs, whether that's my Shark Nano 2 slider, whether that's the basic gimbals I have. You know, I don't have a Ronin 2. I don't like easy rigs. When I went through Italy, I literally was like baby cradling this thing. And so for all those reasons, having these specs inside of a PYXIS body makes way more sense. You can attach a nice handle on the side, get the PYXIS monitor, but I kind of have in the past week or so that I've had this camera fallen in love with having not one, but two full-size XLRs, loads of buttons just everywhere that make easy access for quick changing of settings. This first AC monitor, which you may initially be like, you don't need that, that's kind of stupid, is very nice because the amount of times I'm on this side of the camera. Obviously you have this 4-inch monitor on this side, which now fully flips around. So when I'm recording YouTube videos like this, I'm recording on a secondary 𝗬𝗧𝗨𝗙𝗙 12K, a loaner one that Blackmagic sent. And I can see myself. I literally don't have to rig any monitors to this camera at all, because when I'm on the normal side, I have this monitor to fully flip around. I have the EVF attached on top for when it's really bright or anything. And if I'm on this side of the camera, I can see this monitor. We've got 12 gig SDI. We've built-in Wi-Fi, so all of the Blackmagic camera app remote control functionality when I'm in my studio. I don't have to plug my phone in. It just connects to my home Wi-Fi. I would be very interested if that feature comes over to the PYXIS 12K. Being able to adjust the audio right here with these specific I mean, there's just a bunch of tiny reasons that add up to why I really do love this camera body, and it makes the kind of back-breaking use of it worth it. And it is hard, right? B-mount batteries are not only very expensive, but they're very big, they're very heavy. The plate is still on back ordered, so I don't even have the proper B-mount plate for it yet. I'm going to be fascinated if can you see the back of the camera? The back of it looks the same as the Pixus body, which leads me to believe that it's running off of the same BPU batteries. And like, I just have to believe that this sensor is going to be limited in terms of frame rates, because I just don't think you're going to be able to squeeze that type of image quality out of that sensor without either having our giant BPU batteries go to like 50 minutes like the pocket cameras, or just not power it at all. I don't know. This is a tough one. I am now extra excited for NAB. I'm extra excited to get all of the detailed specs at the Blackmagic event tomorrow morning. But, you know, for the next 24 hours, let's have either an emotional meltdown or a celebration in the comments. You guys pick. If you enjoy this video, make sure you subscribe for more Blackmagic and camera news. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.